Okay, we are going to talk about modern operating systems this morning. We'll look at certain terms like multitasking, multi-user, multi-processing, and multi-threading. We will look at basic functions of the operating systems like hardware access, file and folder management, user interface, command line, and graphical user application management. Then we'll look at processor architecture, and then we'll see how it affects performance of the computer. We'll see how the CPUs contain storage locations called registers, and then we look at 32-bit and then 64-bit long registers. Now, the desktop operating systems are intended to be used for small home and office environments. These support single users, and files and folders are shared in a small network with limited security. Now, Microsoft Windows, Apple Macintosh, and Linux are a few examples of desktop operating systems that are intended for a small home and office environment. Now, the network operating system contains features that increase functionality in a networked environment. Supports multiple users, provides increased security compared to desktop operating systems. So we have different types of network operating systems. For example, if you have Cisco devices, they come with their internet operating system, which is proprietary for Cisco. But when you look at other companies like HP, Dell, and all that, they also have their own servers, and they also have their their operating systems that run on these servers. All these are what we call network operating systems. And even on servers, we have Microsoft Server operating systems that are also running on them for you to be able to use your server to manage your network. All these are network operating systems. And then we also have the small home environment operating systems from Windows, Mac, and all that. Now, the operating system compatible applications and environments. Now, before recommending an operating system, the technician must one, review the budget constraint. You know, it's only in our parts of the world where we have pirated softwares and then we go behind the scenes and break the codes and then we use them. But in actual fact, any type of operating system you use must be a registered operating system, and it comes with a cost. And therefore, if you have to recommend to a technician, as a technician, you have to recommend an operating system. Fine. The first thing you have to do is to review the budget constraints and see whether it will be affordable for the business entity or for the individual who wants to upgrade or change a particular operating system. Now you have to learn how the computer will be used. You have to determine which types of application will be installed and determine the new computer needs to be purchased. All these things are the work of the technician. And then the minimum hardware requirements and compatibility with the operating system. The operating system minimum requirements must be met for optimal operations. So if it is going to be used for a particular operation or to run a particular uh, or for particular applications to run on them, there must be minimum requirements for those operations to be done with ease. Now, some applications may also have specific hardware requirements. Now, upgrades may be necessary. RAM, hard drive, CPU, and video cards or motherboards are a few common upgradable components. So all these components can be upgraded for better functionality and for better operations. So a good resource is a Microsoft Compatibility Center where you can have all this information you need. Now, to check operating system compatibility. You have to know that the operating system brings new functionality and better performance if it's a new version. Now, support for older versions might be dropped. New hardware may require latest operating system versions. And then make sure to check the operating system compatibility before upgrading the operating system. Microsoft's upgrade assistant and upgrade advisor can be helpful in this regard. Now, Windows operating system upgrades. Upgrading Windows may be faster than performing a full install. The installed version of an operating system determine the upgrade version. A full data backup is strongly recommended before upgrading. When you have to upgrade your operating system, you need to do backups. Make sure that all your information are kept in a particular drive or in a particular place so that when you are doing the upgrade, you don't lose them. And data migration, user data may be transferred after a new installation. So user state migration tool and Windows easy transfer tools are designed to help this transfer process. If you have to install an operating system, the operating system storage types, the hard disk drive and then the flash based drives. So the operating system can be on a flash drive, which is the pen drive, the SSDs, the SSHDs, and then the eMMCs. Now, when you when you go back and fall in the notes on NetAcad, you find the meanings of all these things: SSDs, SSHDs, and all that. Now, hard drive partitioning. Hard drive partitioning are the logical divisions inside a hard disk. So when you say you have to partition a hard drive, you want to divide the hard drive into different chunks or different storages where information can be kept on one, and the operating system can also be kept on one. So proper partitioning is crucial for correct boot process. Now the file system is defined, or the file system define how data is written within a partition. So different operating systems support different file system. We have the FAT32, we have the new technology filing system, we have the extensible file access system, we have the CCFs and the NFS. These are common file systems supported by Windows-based operating systems. So it depends on which kind of Windows you are using, which kind of operations, and then the filing system that are in place. The operating system installation with default settings. Now, the installer program applies the most common settings, and these are the preferred by inexperienced users. So it allows for little customization. Windows allow for granular customization after the default settings are installed and complete. If you have to create an account, the account creation allows for multiple users to share a computer. So you can have an account for guests, you can have an account for all the users who come up on the computer system and want to use the computer. So you can have the administrator's account, the standard, and for guests. So if you have to finalize installation, use Windows Update to check for update after installation is complete. And then use Device Manager to verify that all hardware was properly installed. Now we have something we call the disk cloning. Now this is a solution to speed up bulk installations. So it uses a single operating system installation as base system to create multiple clone systems. That's what we mean by disk cloning. And then we have other installation methods include network installations, and image-based installations. So you can also install operating systems on a network. And then we have other types of custom installations, which include startup options, refresh your PC, system restore, and then upgrade, repair installation, remote network installation, recovery partition, and then refresh and restore. These are all types of how you can restore and refresh an operating system. And then network installation relies on a network connections to deploy the installation file. So network installation methods include remote network installation and unattended installation. So some tools are used to perform custom installations. These tools include Windows System Restore. Now, when we talk about Windows System Restore, it means that it is a functionality on the Windows operating system where you can store at a particular date and at a particular time the better function of an operating system, so that going forward, when it begins to misbehave, you can restore to that particular date, and then you have the functionality of that date that was stored, and your computer will begin to work healthily again. Only that at that time, the information that was stored will be the information you retrieve. And the later days, all the information you stored on it, if you don't back them up, you will lose all of them. And then these include Windows System Restore, Windows Refresh your PC, and then Windows Recovery Partition. Now, system recovery options. These are used to recover after a system failure. So, system recovery is when your system has failed, you can recover all your information. And then some of the popular recovery tools for Windows 8 is Windows Advanced Startup option, and then system recovery option for Windows 7 and Vista. Now, Windows 10 and then Windows 20 also have these same advanced startup options and system recovery options. And then we also have factory recovery partition. Now, the Windows boot process. The common boot steps are post execution, locating and loading CMOS configurations, locating and loading bootloaders, locating and loading the operating system. Now, the reason why I'm moving fast is that all these things have been taught in your first year with Mr. Kokuniama. So we don't want to waste time so that we can move on to other areas. So the Windows bootloader and the Windows boot manager are programs used to manage Windows startup. Now, the startup modes. The Windows startup modes allow for troubleshooting when Windows fails to start. And then Windows startup modes include a safe mode, that is F8 on post. And then safe mode with networking, safe mode with command prompt, and last known good configuration. So when your machine is misbehaving and you go to the safe mode will put all other functionalities away and give you a functioning area where you can provide certain configurations that will make sure your system is recovered. And then Windows registry, all Windows settings are stored in key value pairs in the Windows registry. Extreme caution must be taken when working with the registry. We have multi-boot procedures. It is possible to install multiple operating systems on a computer. So the boot manager manages multiple versions of Windows installed on a single computer. Only that it will use the same system resource, and therefore the resources must be able to support the multiple operating system. And then we have what we call the disk management utility, which accomplishes many tasks through the disk management utility, which includes view drive status, extend partitions, split partitions, assign drive letters, add drives, and add arrays. Now, partitions, logical divisions created inside the drive to host file systems. So partitions can be extended or shrunk using disk management utilities. And therefore, the drive mapping or drive letter assignment, drive C, drive H, drive I, drive G, or whatever. So in Windows, assigning letters to, okay, Emmanuel, you say I should take my time small. Okay, okay, I'll take my time for you. Now, in Windows, assigning letters to name physical and logical drives is called drive mapping or drive letter assignment. You see, sometimes when you add a drive, automatically you add, you push in a pen drive. The drive C is the root drive. You push in a pen drive, then it moves to D, and you see that that new drive is registered with D for you to identify that drive. And then you put in an external hard disk, and all of them are in there, and then you see that the drive, that drive is also assigned to H and all that. The more you keep increasing the disks that are connecting, the more drive names or drives are mapped to those particular drives. The more letters are mapped to those particular drives. So drive mapping and letter assignment, the disk management utility can be used to manage the drive letter assignment. Now, the directory structure. The directory structure is designed to store files and store files and folders. So we have the root directory, and then we have all the parent directory, and then we have the other directories, other what do you call it, other folders. So when you put a folder in a folder, that folder that is holding the second folder becomes the parent or the root folder, and then you have other folders. So that is what we want to say directory structure. If you have a drive C, and then you put in another drive or you store another drive in a drive C becomes the root drive that is hosting other drives. So if you have a folder and another folder is keeping another, and that folder is keeping another folder, and inside the second folder there's a file, you see that the root folder is housing another folder, and then that folder is also housing a file. So then we call these ones subfolders, and then the main one that is hosting them becomes the root folder, and these are the main directory structures. So a disk must be initialized and formatted if Windows cannot recognize its file system. So formatting disks or partition creates a file system. So formatted disk or partitions must be mounted before use. So user and system file locations. Now, system files are files critical to an operating system operations. User files are files belonging to a user and of little significance to the operating system. So if you type your letter and you store it, it is of little importance to the operating system than system files. Because the operating system itself that is running to give the functionality for other uh, applications to run on are also have files that are holding it. So when we say system files, they are files that if any one of those files are not there, it will compromise the functionality of the operating system. So system files are critical to the operation of the operating system. Now, let's look at attributes. File extensions identify the type of Windows and must adhere to Windows naming conventions. File attributes define how files can be handled. Common file attributes are the read, the archive, the system, and then the hidden. These are file attributes. So we have the attributes, if whether the file can be read or can be accessed, whether the file is in an archive, whether it is a system file or a hidden file. These are attributes of a file. And therefore, application file and folder properties. Now, right-click on a file, application or folder to see its properties. So application and file properties are different than folder properties. So when you want to find a particular the properties of a particular file, a particular folder, or a particular uh, uh, application, you right click on it and you go to properties and it will give you information about it. So this is it for chapter 5.